Alright, so this is my Majespecter deck profile. There's pretty much no right or wrong way to build Majespecters, right? You can mix match them, you can splash them into other decks and whatnot and do whatever you want. You can mix them with Yosenjus, take advantage of the pendulum aspect. The good thing is the pendulum monsters can get you some of the, majestic spells and traps, so you can just use them just for that purpose. You know what I mean? You can just use Fox along with Majespecter Tempest, just so you have access to Tempest whenever you want. You just summon that, get that, right? Simple as that. Pendulum summon it, get that. Simple as that. So, to each their own. You could of course use Crow. Crow gets you Storm. There's another Majespecter card, which is a quick play, but it's a good card. Just not interested in using it because it destroys a monster. I'd rather spin the monster back into my opponent's deck than to destroy them. You don't want Shaddoll monsters going to a graveyard. Their effects will kick in, and you want to avoid that. Among other stuff like Yang Zings, they'll get their effects if they're destroyed. Shaddoll, Burning Abyss, and so on and so on. So you want to avoid things, monsters going to the grave. So I'd rather use Storm instead. It's been working for me, so it should work for you. To help with the pendulum scale, I have Eccentric Archfiend. Obviously, it's a scale 7. It goes with your scale 2s, so that way you can summon your level 6 Majespecter Unicorn. Because interesting enough, the archetype scale goes up to 5. Don't know why it doesn't go up to 7. So that way you can special summon Majespecter Unicorn. It works better that way if you can. So maybe we're waiting for more support, but we have Eccentric Archfiend for now. There's a couple other 7 or 8 star monsters you could use. I prefer Eccentric Archfiend because it substitutes as an MST, but also substitutes as monster removal in case my opponent has, I don't know, 5-guy dragon or something like that, and I just top deck Eccentric Archfiend. I can get rid of the 5-guy dragon, right, as an example. And the fact that I can always pendulum summon it back into the field and then tribute again and pop monsters is a very useful ability to, recurringly every turn get rid of monsters. Of course, we got the Unicorn. Unicorn monster has no pendulum effect, but it has a monster effect, which is during either player's turn, you can target one pendulum monster you control and one monster your opponent controls and return them to the hand. So this is a way you can bounce your pendulum monsters back to your hand so you can recycle their effects. Interesting enough, their effects are once per turn, so that kind of is unnecessary. I mean, granted, you can do it during your opponent's turn, which is one of the turns, which is when you'll probably use this effect the most, is bounce, one of your pendulum monsters back to your hand during your opponent's turn to disrupt any of your opponent's exceed plays, synchro plays, or whatever. Let's say they set a monster in defense mode and ends their turn, you can just bounce it back to the hand, bounce your monster back to the hand. That way your turn you can normal summon it or pendulum summon it and get its effect again. That's typically what you'll do, but there's times where on your turn you might end up in a situation where you need to bounce the pendulum monster on your turn, and the fact that you don't get to use its effect again after you already used it, it's lackluster as the turn goes. So it's not as awesome as it could be, but then it'll be even more broken than they already are, right? They also have the condition where they cannot be targeted by or destroyed by an opponent's card effects. So stuff like Mirror Force, Trench, Obamas, Regeki Dark Hole, Black Rose, JD, so on and so on, Exciton Knight. Cards of that nature that have destruction effects can't destroy them. Stuff like 101, Sky Blaster, Diamond Dire, I guess, Chidori, so on and so on. Monsters of that nature, monsters that have targeting effects, can't target them. But also spells and traps like Dimensional Prison, Phoenix Chain, Breakthrough Skills, Veilers is a monster. But you get the idea. It makes it hard to target them because they can't be targeted. And it's hard to destroy them by card effects because they can't be destroyed by card effects. They can be destroyed by your own stuff. You know, if you're the control of the Majespecters, they can be targeted and destroyed by your own stuff. But your opponent can't target and destroy them, which is bad for your opponent, great for you, right? So this is definitely going to be a popular deck when it comes out. It's pretty well balanced effect-wise, except for that there's no skill 7 yet. But we do what we do with what we got, and that's what makes this game fun. So we figure things out. We find a way. Moving on, Fox. When normal summon or special summon, you can add a Majespecter trap card from your deck to your hand. Crow lets you add a Majespecter spell card from your deck to your hand. Raccoon lets you add a Majespecter monster from your deck to your hand. Very useful. Typically, what I like to do, which is a typical play, is if you have a Majespecter Raccoon and another Majespecter, you summon the Raccoon, normal summon it, add another Majespecter. Make sure you have the proper scale. You want 2 to 5, right? That way you have the scale to it, and then play the scale 2 to 5, right? That way, if Raccoon gets defeated, it only has 1200 attack. So if it gets defeated, you could Pendulum summon it again next turn and get another Pendulum monster. Get another Majespecter monster, so you can use it. Next turn. A good card to reach for is Unicorn, because Unicorn, you can tribute the Raccoon, summon the Unicorn. That way you have a nice 2000 beater you can play with. And then the following turn, Pendulum summon again, or you can go for something that can search out something you need, especially if your Raccoon was defeated by a monster, right? You probably want to get Crow, because Crow can get you Storm, and Storm can get rid of the monster for you. Especially if it's something like a Synchro or Exceed or a Fusion monster or a Ritual monster or something of that nature. You might want to get rid of it. So on and so on. You'll figure it out, right? Then we got Majespecter Cat. I'm not a fan of it personally. It's a good card. I play it anyway. Not a fan. Can't wait until there is more, so of course I can replace it. Mainly because I don't like the fact that I have to wait until the end of my turn to receive the card. And it doesn't have much for attack. It only has 100 attack, so that's not too great. For me, anything under 15 but over 1,000, is good attack for me. I prefer stuff that's 1,000 and up, but not 15 and up. I know that might sound strange, but the reason for the whole 15 thing in Yu-Gi-Oh for me is 15 and up is bombless bait, right? It's bombless target. I want to avoid bombless in any way, shape, or form, unless the monster can't be bombless, aka Unicorn and not Raccoon and Fox. See, Fox is 15, but because it can't be destroyed, bombless can't destroy it. So bombless it can't destroy it, can't banish it. So these two obviously are exception to my 1500 above rule. But you see, this one has 800 attack, this one has 100, 1200, 1000. So that's pretty good. I don't have to worry about bombless, but already I don't have to worry about it with this archetype. But with any other monsters in the game, I prefer something between 1,000 and 1,500, just to avoid bombless. That's just me. Of course, a Trick Archfiend, already mentioned the use of that. Storm, tribute 1 win spell, caster type monster, then target 1 monster your opponent controls and shuffle it back into the deck. It's a good spot removal, very strong. Majespecter or Majestic Pegasus. Hopefully they change to Majespecter or Pegasus or something, so you can't search it out with Crow. Don't like the fact that it can't be searched. It's very useful and very crucial to the deck's function. You know what I mean? To me, it's the one of the main engines of the deck, so it's why it can't be searched. Anyway, all Majespecter monsters gain 300 attack and defense. You contribute 1 win spellcaster type monster special summon 1 level 4 or lower Majespecter monster from your deck. You can only use the effect of this once per turn. Obviously, you'll play something like Raccoon and add a Majespecter from your hand, from your deck to your hand, right? Then play the Pegasus field spell. Use the field spell, attributing the Raccoon, and then summoning any of the other ones you want. You might want to get the Fox, because Fox can't shoot any of the traps. Majespecter Tornado is a pretty decent defense card. Pretty decent card in general, so I decided to start using it. I was using something else, but I decided to use this since it is searchable. You know, give it a try, right? But I definitely was using this because it's a good counter. Because it doubles as Divine Wrath, but also as Black Hornet Heaven, essentially. Then we got Warning to add to the power. So it's like having 4 warnings in the deck. Then we got double Cyclone, because sometimes you need to fix the pendulum scale. I ended up in a scenario where I accidentally had like a fox or a crow, not a crow, fox and a unicorn, I guess. I think that's what it was. It was those two, and they messed up my scale. And it's like, hey, I got 2 number 2s, and I can't do nothing with them. Or was it 2 5s? I think it was Raccoon and a crow. I think that's what it was. Anyway, I ended up with a scale. Yeah, it was a 5 5. I ended up with a scale that I couldn't use, and that was a big problem. I think I lost that duel. And Double Cyclone would have fixed that. Typically I use just generic MST, but since this is a pendulum deck and you might end up in a scenario where the scales don't line up because you weren't paying attention, or for some reason you ended up with a mixed match pendulum scale, you might want to double cyclone it out. Also, you could just do it just for the heck of it. You can, let's say you already have a scale. Let's say you have the unicorn and you have Raccoon, but you want to be able to summon the unicorn. So what you'll do is you'll cyclone the unicorn, so that way the unicorn's not there. Then play eccentric archfiend, so that way you have a scale of 5 to 7, which means you can summon a 6, which unicorn is 6, and there you go. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. You'll figure it out, right? Deck Bribe. Despite the fact that they can't be messed with too much by too many basic, standard, stable, whatever you want to call it, spells and traps in the game, you still want some control, because some cards are not designed to hurt your monsters. They can be designed to hurt other things. There's some stuff that don't target that could be a danger, like space time trap hole. There you go. I think it's called, right? Space time. Double check, right? Time space trap hole. Okay. It does say space time on the image, but it's time space trap hole, apparently. Alright. Anyway, that card doesn't target, and it would hurt your pendulum, your deck, because once you pendulum summon, they could throw it all back into the extra deck. Back into the main deck, and now you have to start all over again, trying to set up your pendulum engine, right? So that can be really, really dangerous for this deck. So Dark Bribe takes care of that. Plus, it can help in many other ways, not only defensively against somebody trying to hurt your pendulum monsters, but your Majespecters, but also they can have a win condition, a combo that like Soul Charge. You can just Dark Bribe it, right? Or Warning, of course, you can Warning it, but it's good to have more options. So Dark Bribe and Warning can help against the Soul Charge play, for example. But you wanna have options, right? If you have, your field spell and you don't want it to get popped, obviously Dark Bribe. If you have a pendulum scale, you don't want it to get popped, obviously you got Dark Bribe. You get the idea. Red screen defensively, because there'll be times where you might not have the appropriate scale or what you have or whatnot, right? So red screen will be good defensively. It's my staple defense cards, stall to win, right? So that's what red screen's for. You can also double cyclone it whenever you want to get rid of it. And Warning, because Warning is Warning. It can do a lot. Don't really need an extra deck. I don't even really use anything in the extra deck when I play this deck, but it's better to have and not need than to need and not ever have. 3 Chidoris, 3 the Gooster Emeralds, mainly because if I do exceed summon, I want to recycle the Pendulum monsters. Put them all back in the deck with Emerald. Especially, I'll probably make Chidori a lot with this deck if I ever end up in the scenario where I need to, Chidori my opponent. I want to be able to make it Chidori multiple times, recycle them multiple times. We got Zen Mane, and we got Totem Bird because it's useful with Centric Archfiend and Raccoons and Cat, since they're level 3s. You can exceed into wind up Zen Mane, which is good defensive card, and with its effect you could pop your opponent's cards, mainly back row, since you can easily deal with their monsters. Then Totem Bird, just because you can. You could use Leviar, Sea Dragon, in case for some reason somehow your Majespecters get banished. You can bring them back, but typically that won't happen. During either player's turn, when a spell or trap card is activated, you can detach 2 XYZ material from this card, negate the activation. If you do destroy it, this card loses 300 attack while it has no XYZ materials. So it's a pretty good card. It's just another spell and trap negation card to add into the deck. So that's why it's there. No Evil Sworn, Exciton Knight. Never know when you need it. Clear the field completely, and start off with a clean slate, right? Sky Blaster. Essentially, it's a 4th Chidori. That's essentially what it is. Abyss Dweller for graveyard style decks. Shadow's Burning Abyss, so on and so on. Diamond Dire, spot removal. It's a decent card. Can't argue too much about it, right? It's a decent card. Can't really use it since all the Majestics or spellcasters can't pop them for his effect, which would be awesome, right? Utopia, just because he's good, classic, generic, powerful Utopia. Never know, we might need to defend long enough to make a comeback, right? So for the win. And number 80, Rhapsody and Berserk. Never know when you need to get rid of stuff in the graveyard, because they might come back and haunt you, right? And Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon for them random Cyber Dragon decks, right? In case you ever end up in a scenario where Cyber Dragon's on the field with a couple machine types and you're like, hey, send them to the grave. Chimera Tech Fortress for the win. And that's the end of the deck profile.